Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you're here. Today, as you can tell by the title, we're going to be doing another 24-hour readathon. I try to do these at least like every few months. I don't remember when the last time I did it was, but I know it has been a minute, so I figured I would do it again. And my favorite thing about 24-hour readathons is that they motivate me so much to read, because obviously I'm trying to read like for 24 hours, and there's a lot of different ways you can do this. I do really want to try the way where you just set up the timer for 24 hours and you read and read and read like as much as you can until the next day and you don't stop the timer. I really want to try that, so let me know if you guys would enjoy seeing that. But I'm gonna do it how I've been doing it the past few times, where I have a 24-hour timer, and whenever I'm reading I press play, and whenever I stop reading I pause the timer. So it really is only counting the time that I am spent reading. I do have a set TBR for the month, so I really should be picking off that, and I think we're at least gonna start the video with one book off of my TBR. I have not been the best at reading off of my TBR recently. Now this book isn't on my TBR, but I do need to catch up with it for book club, so I think this is gonna be one of the books that we start with. It's Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. My book club and I have been reading this for quite some time. We like to read together, but we've been realizing that it's a lot harder for our schedules to mesh recently, so for us to read it together, it takes us a long time to finish a book. So I just have to read one part in this book, which is about 100 pages, I think. We are on part 3, so we're trying to get to part 4, and then we're gonna finish part 4 together next Sunday, which I'm really excited about, to finish it together, and then we're gonna move on to our next book. So I think I am gonna go ahead and start off with this. I have no idea what I'm gonna read after, because I don't really know what kind of mood I'm gonna be in. I just read a lot of romances in a row though, so I feel like I need to read something else to kind of break up the genres that I'm reading. But this is also a fantasy, so maybe after reading this for 100 pages I'll want to read a romance again. I really have no idea. Now this is actually the second book in its duology. The first one was Divine Rivals, which obviously got a lot of hype last year, and I really enjoyed that. That was actually our first book club book that we read, and we read it in like 2 sittings. Like, it was that good. And I would deem this as a romantasy, but it also has like a historical fiction element, and we're following our two main characters, Iris and Roman. It is in third person. I know that sometimes can mess people up, but I really don't find it to be that hard to follow. But we're basically following them in this world where there is like a war with the gods going on, and there's just like a lot of other things that are happening, and there's also an enemies to lovers love story between them. The first one so far focuses a lot more on their love story. I feel like the second one focuses a lot more on like plot and world building, which is kind of interesting. And I did rate the first one a 4.75. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I read it in 2 sittings, so I think I enjoyed it. But I don't know if it's just because I've been reading this over such a long period of time, or it's been a while since I read the first book, or what, but I'm not enjoying this one as much as the other one. Like, I really thought the other one might be a 5-star, but I don't really think I have the 5-star feelings with this one. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So this is gonna be the first book. I don't think we're gonna end up finishing it in this video, because I'm obviously gonna be finishing it with my book club next week. But let's just go ahead and dive into this, get to part 3, and then we can pick our next book. Okay, it's the next day, and I got to part 4 of Ruthless Vows, so I am gonna put this down for now. Our timer is currently at 21 hours and 41 minutes exactly. Part 3 of this kind of left off on a little cliffhanger, and I feel like we're starting to know a lot more bits and pieces and a lot more world building things that are going on, but we really just don't know that much. And I've also found a few plot holes that I'm like kind of confused about, which I'm excited to talk about with Abby and Jordy, who are in my book club, if you don't know who I'm talking about. But yeah, I don't know. Not entirely sure how I'm feeling about this just yet, but I'm really excited to finish it soon, because we've been reading this for a hot minute. Moving on from this, I actually did start an audiobook last night, and it's actually a memoir, which I don't read a ton of memoirs, but one of my goals at the beginning of this year for this reading year was to try and read a few more, and I really enjoy listening to them, just because most of the time they're narrated by the authors, and I feel like there's a lot to learn from memoirs as well. And I've been wanting to read this one for a long time. So this is the Matthew Matthew Perry memoir. It's called Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. I'm like 7% through that. I actually didn't log that in my 24-hour timer. I should have. I listened to it while I was getting ready for bed last night, maybe for like 15 minutes, I don't know. But yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot so far. I'm really excited to read it. I've been wanting to dive into other genres recently a little bit more than normal. I feel like normally I read a lot of romance and I read a lot of fantasy, and lately I just haven't read a lot of other things, and sometimes those genres are kind of getting a little repetitive for me whenever I read too much of them, especially back to back. So I'm really excited to be reading this, and I'm really excited to, I don't know, learn more about his life. I'm a big Friends fan, so I feel like this is gonna be like really interesting for me, and obviously he had a very hard life with a lot of different struggles, and I'm intrigued to see what his life was like. Plus, not gonna lie, I always had a little crush on Chandler, so I'm a little excited about reading his perspective on that as well. And then as for physical books go, I have two that are on my TBR right now that I am in the mood to read currently. And I know I was literally just talking about switching genres. One of these is a romance. I feel like I have to read a romance before bed because I feel like anything else, I mean, maybe literary fiction will be fine, but I feel like a mystery or a fantasy or whatever, like they're just like too high stakes, and I would want to stay up and finish it, or since I'm tired, I'm just not gonna remember anything that happens. So I do really enjoy reading romances at night. Now I'm gonna pick The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I will definitely be reading this at night tonight, so that's gonna count for my time. I haven't decided if I want to start this now or if I want to get into Killer Instincts by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. It's the second book in the Natural series. I took a big break from the series because I'm not a big mystery girly, so I've been trying to slowly get into more mysteries, and I read the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series a few months after I read the first book in the Natural series. I think it's been almost a year since I read the first book in the series, but I read the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy and I absolutely ate it up and loved it, and I feel like I'm slowly easing my way into reading more mysteries, and I really do enjoy them and like playing detective and figuring things out with our main characters. But I think YA mysteries is where I'm gonna draw the line, because I am a big scaredy cat. I get so paranoid, which if you've been here for a while, you know that, but I feel like ever since I moved in with Luke, I just get less scared because it's not like I'm sleeping by myself. So I will be fine no matter what. Hopefully. We'll see if I end up sleeping. I'm excited for some fast-paced reads. I don't know which one I'm gonna pick up next, but I guess you'll see that in the next clip. So let's go ahead and start reading. Okay, I figured that I would go ahead and update you guys. I currently have 17 hours and 33 seconds left on the timer. I am 52% through Matthew Perry's Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, and I am on page 117 of The Love Wager. And as you can see, I've listened to quite a bit of the audiobook so far, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I find it so interesting, and I always remember whenever I read memoirs why I find them so interesting, because just hearing about like real people and their real life experiences, even if their life is just so much different than mine, I just find it so intriguing, and seeing how people fall down paths or people change or whatever. It's just so interesting. I feel like you learn a lot about life while reading about other people's lives. Who would have thought, you know? Interesting enough. Maybe that's why they do memoirs. So I am really enjoying that. I listened to quite a bit of it last night while I was cleaning and just doing a few little things around the house. I had to prep some returns, and that took a little bit because I have been buying a lot of things for the wedding that just have not been working out. As for The Love Wager, I'm also really enjoying this one. I feel like it's just really cute so far. It's a really easy read, and it's actually dual POV. It's new adult. Lynn Painter, I think she has 3 new adult books now. They're not as popular as her YA books. I find to enjoy her new adult books though, not as much for some odd reason. I don't really know what it is. Like, I've only read 1 new adult book by her, and it was the one that becomes before this one. It's called Mr. Wrong Number, and I think I rated it like a 4 at the time, but it's probably more of like a 3.5. It's like not really my favorite, but it's just like a good, fun, cute read, and I feel like that's what I just really needed right now, and Lynn Painter always delivers on that, especially if you're wanting something super easy and quick too, and I feel like this is exactly what I'm getting from this, so I'm glad that I'm getting what I was wanting. But it's basically about our two main characters, Hallie and Jack. They end up having a night together for one reason or another, if you know what I'm saying, and even though they had that night, there hasn't been any spice yet, but they both suddenly realize as they get to talking and stuff that they both want to be in a serious relationship, so they make a wager or a bet. That's why it's called a love wager. I'm so smart, look at me. But they basically just make like a wager or a bet or whatever, and whoever finds love wins first. I think one thing that Lynn Painter does so well in these books, which makes me want to keep reading more, is there's just so much dialogue and so much character interaction. And I always find that whenever characters are interacting and there's a lot of banter and stuff like that, I'm just instantly more intrigued and interested in wanting to read more, and I feel like it goes by a lot faster because I want to read so much more. And they've had like a lot of cute little moments together so far that I've really enjoyed, and I feel like they just have like a lot of chemistry, and like I feel the chemistry, and that's what I'm always looking for whenever I'm reading a romance book. I have to feel the chemistry off the page in order to root for the couple and to want to continue reading the book, and I feel that way in both of their perspectives. I think there's just something so special about a dual POV romance book. And the chapters are a little bit long, I will say, but you don't even notice it because it's broken up in such a nice way where you get almost both POVs every single chapter. So we start out with Hallie, and then a page later we get to like see Jack again, and that honestly happens quite a bit. I don't think any of the chapters have been like 10 pages without a page break or anything else like that, which I always find whenever there's a different POV or a page break or whatever, I'm incentivized to read more, especially if it's a smaller section, because I'm like, oh, it's only like a page or two, like I can read that. So I have definitely been wanting to pick this up. I've been wanting to read it more, and I feel like this is exactly what I needed to kind of start getting out of my Throne of Glass slump. Not that I haven't read any good books recently. I think it's just been hard because if I'm not enjoying the book or it has any similarities to Throne of Glass at all, or even if it's just a fantasy, I'm just thinking of Throne of Glass. So I'm gonna have to take a little quick break from like specific fantasies in the genre. I'm thinking about maybe picking up the Caraval series soon, maybe in this vlog or a vlog coming up soon, just because I feel like it's a little bit different. It's more of like a whimsical like mystery. Like Stephanie Garber's writing is so good, and she just has those like fairy tale elements too that I really, really enjoy. So I'm thinking about maybe picking that up in this vlog, we'll see. But as for now, I'm really, really enjoying the two books that I'm reading right now, and I feel really good about the challenge so far. I will say I do have to go to work tonight, so I don't know how much I'm going to be able to read for the rest of the night. Hopefully I'll get a little bit in before bed. I've been reading this for a bit, and I think I have like 20-ish pages left or something like that, and I was really, really enjoying this. Like I was like kicking my feet, giggling. Like of course there were things that were like a little cringy or whatever, and I knew it wasn't gonna be a 5-star or anything like that, but I was just so in the mood for it, so I was so happy reading it. I was flying through it, all of that kind of stuff, and I was just loving it. I was like, okay, at least a 4-star. And then now we get to the end, and I don't know, I'm so disappointed. I feel like it kind of just got ruined for me. Some of the spice that there was, I just wasn't expecting there to be as much as there was, and I feel like the tension was so good with these two because there was a little bit of my favorite trope, and the spice isn't too descriptive either or anything like that, but it's just like too much of it, and it just doesn't really like make any sense or add to the plot. Like I feel like it would have been fine if it was described like 1 or 2 times and then was fade to black or something like that, and then there was just a really weird decision made that I know that was gonna come back to bite the characters in the butt later, and of course it did. And I don't know, I'm just kind of like annoyed by that because I saw it coming from a mile away for one, and I really, really like them as a couple, but now I'm just so annoyed because I really thought that they could have overcome this so easily if they just like chatted, and now instead what they're doing just makes absolutely no sense to me. So now I'm just kind of like really, really bothered. I don't know, I'm just so annoyed with these two characters right now. Like why are they not speaking to each other to try and figure anything out? And it almost just feels like they're like giving up or taking the easy way out, and I understand that they both have like relationship things and stuff like that, but literally just speak to each other, especially if they're supposed to be best friends, because like that's the whole thing. They become friends like as they go and stuff like that, as they're dating while they make the wager, but like they haven't even known each other for that long, so to be best friends so instantly is kind of crazy to me. And a whole thing that they've been saying, like one whole reason why they don't want to be together is they've been like, well, I don't want to ruin our friendship, our best friendship. Babes, you've been friends for like maybe 3 months. Take a chili pilly. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you saying? Like, I think it's worth it to risk a 3-month friendship to maybe get a lifelong partner that you feel super happy with. You know, I think that works. I think that does, in fact. This is always so disappointing. This is how I've been feeling with so many books lately. I feel like it starts off super strong. I've been getting into it, really enjoying it, and then I get to the end and then something happens and then it just kind of feels not as good. It just feels unsatisfying almost. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I've been reading books with similar endings or something like that, or books that are too similar. I don't know, I don't feel like I've been. I've just been kind of disappointed with like the endings of books that I've been reading recently, especially compared to the beginnings. Okay, I finished The Love Wager a few hours ago and my feelings are still no different than what I was just saying, even more so, to be completely honest. Sometimes whenever there's a conflict or miscommunication in a book or just certain tropes that I don't like, the ending can kind of flush it out and make me feel better about it and just kind of like bring things back around to how I was feeling towards the beginning. This, in fact, did not do that, sadly enough. Did I think I was going to get a 5-star book out of this? No. Did I think I was going to get anything incredible and amazing that I was going to talk about for a really long time or remember or anything like that? No. I came here for just a fun and fresh, good reading experience. I wasn't coming for anything too deep or anything like that. So at the end of the day, I did get that. I think I'm just a little bit disappointed just because of how things wrapped up and how I was feeling towards the beginning, which I already talked about quite a bit in the last talking clip that I did. So I'm not gonna talk your ear off about that. One other thing I noticed with this book though is that the characters just seemed like they didn't have true personalities. I think Hallie definitely had more of a distinctive personality than Jack did, but this happened with both of them. I guess more so Jack than Hallie, but still there were things that the characters did that just seemed out of character for them, and the characters just didn't seem real or fleshed out enough for me. And again, I wasn't really going for like a real type of character book. Like, this isn't an Emily Henry book, you know, like authors write different things and that's just kind of how it works. But there were just certain things in here that just felt really out of character for Jack specifically, and it just kind of bothered me, especially because I really enjoyed them for like the first like 2/3 of the book, and then something happened and it was just kind of like meh. Like, I don't know. I felt this way with other books too, but this is probably the book that I've like felt the most that way about, where they just do like things that are kind of out of character. I'm like, that's not the Jack and Hallie I know. Like, what are we doing? Also, one thing I did enjoy about this book is her name is Hallie Piper, and they talk about like the Parent Trap because the girl's name in the Parent Trap, or one of the twins' names, is Hallie Parker, so that's definitely inspired by her name, and I thought that was kind of cute because that's also one of my favorite movies. I'm still not done with the Matthew Perry book. I'm at 94% right now, so probably the next time I talk to you guys, I will be done with it and I'll give you guys my final thoughts on that. But overall, just the same thing that I've been talking about thus far. And we're also almost halfway at our timer. We're at 12 hours and 48 minutes currently. Oh my gosh, the fingerprints are gonna drive me insane. 12 hours and 48 minutes, so almost halfway there, like I said. And I am incredibly excited and feel so lucky to be reading this book. I actually posted about it on my Instagram stories yesterday. Whenever I went to Barnes, I was just kind of walking around, you know, seeing what they have. I really wasn't gonna buy anything. I haven't really been buying books lately, like I've been saying in a lot of my videos recently. But then something caught my eye. That's not supposed to be out until August 27th, and it's a big anticipated release for me this year. And I was like, oh, that's not supposed to be out. It's August 14th. Like, what are we doing, babes? And there was just a whole big stack of them, so I was like, okay, don't mind if I do. And I took one, and that book is Daydream by Hannah Grace. This is the 3rd book in the Maple Hills series. So there was Icebreaker, Wildfire, and now Daydream. This is Henry's book. I've been waiting for this since Icebreaker. I really enjoyed Icebreaker. I rated it a 4.75 at the time whenever I read it. I just really enjoyed the found family and the college setting as well. I didn't really have a classic college experience, so I feel like having this kind of like lets me see into that world a little bit of like a super close tight-knit friend group. And it's also hockey romances. Now the second one didn't really involve hockey as much, but it was following a hockey player. I'm wondering if this is gonna be kind of like that as well. Like I said, this one is following Henry though, and he is a hockey player on the team. But wait, the girl's name is Hallie too. That's actually really funny. So Hallie and Henry, and I think Hallie is tutoring Henry, so I kind of love that. And Bessie's literally wearing the folklore cardigan. She's wearing the full glow cardigan. So how am I not gonna love this? I literally think I'm gonna love it. And I have heard some pretty great reviews from people who have gotten ARCs, so I'm really, really excited. My Barnes never has releases like this where it comes out like way beforehand, like maybe like a few days beforehand. Not even that though for me. Like I've seen people get it a few days beforehand, but this is like weeks, plural. Like that's insane. And I am so excited to read this. Hopefully I can get this up on the day that this releases so you guys can watch it maybe like while you're reading it or before you read it or something like that. I am just so excited to read this. And I feel so lucky, and I just cannot believe that this is in my hands right now so early. Okay, let's go ahead and start Daydream by Hannah Grace. Filming spot unlocked. Hello everybody. Currently left on our timer is 8 hours and 22 seconds, and I officially did finish the Matthew Perry memoir. I really enjoyed it. It was very interesting to see his take on a lot of things that he went through throughout his life. He really struggled with like addiction and a lot of like deep and dark things, and obviously everybody's experience with life in general is different, but specifically with those specific things that he went through, and just seeing it from his perspective was really interesting, especially as he was working in the public eye. I feel like a lot of the times in Hollywood you end up getting into those sort of things just because you go to all these parties and you have all this money and like all of that kind of stuff. So like seeing that and like hearing about like Friends and all of his movies and his other shows and how things didn't work out and then they did, and like all of that kind of stuff was just very interesting. And again, I just love a good memoir, and I love just seeing into other people's stories. I've always been a Friends fan, so getting to hear his story was just really interesting, and I did really enjoy it. Now, as for Daydream, currently on page 162, and I'm eating it up. Like I said, this is about two characters named Hallie and Henry. It is dual POV as well, which we love to see. I love a dual POV romance book. It always makes it 100% better getting both characters' perspectives. Now, we already know Henry. He is currently the captain of the hockey team at his college, which is the Maple Hills College. I can't remember exactly what it's called. Maple Hills University, something like that. He's the hockey captain. He has it on his plate, and he's having trouble in one of his classes. He gets very overstimulated quite a bit, and he just thinks differently, says things he shouldn't say, and he needs to learn differently because that's just how he works. We also see him get very hyper fixated on ideals or just things that are going on that he gets so distracted that he forgets to do other things in his life, which I can really relate to. I feel like me and Henry are kind of in the same boat a little bit with a lot of different things, and I just find it really interesting to read a character's perspective that I relate to so much. And then now getting into Hallie, another character's perspective that I relate to so much. I feel like if you literally mix Hallie and Henry together, you get Katie. The way that she is just so people-pleasing. She's like the middleman in all of her family's arguments. She's trying to do so many things for her family. She's always trying to do things for other people, and she's so scared of like losing friends. She like overthinks everything. She has a lot of anxiety. She always thinks she's not good enough. She apologizes for every little thing she does, even if it's not wrong. And she does things for other people and puts other people way before herself, and she doesn't really think about the things that she needs or wants or what would get her farther in her life or anything like that. And she just does all these things for other people, and every time she thinks about something too, she like overanalyzes it, and like just the way her brain works is crazy because it literally feels like I'm listening to my own brain. Like both of these people, I have just never really related to characters quite like them, and just the way that they simply think each thought that they think. So I'm already really enjoying it. It's honestly been flying by. I've really not been wanting to put it down, and when I do put it down, I'm like itching to read again. So we're already off to a great start because I absolutely love the characters, and Hannah Grace is known for writing a lot more character-based books books more than like plot-based books. So how it starts out is they start off as friends and they just kind of meet each other organically through friends, and then Hallie helps him with a class like one time, and then they get closer together, and then they just become closer and closer friends. And then Henry's helping her out with another thing. I will say that one of my favorite tropes is in this book, and I was so excited when I saw it, and that the way that they were doing it, where it's not like too much or like too corny, at least not yet, but it's like just enough that it's so perfect, and I love it so much, and I can feel the chemistry off the page. Again, I say that a lot whenever I'm talking about books and like how much I enjoy the characters and how much I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for these guys. They literally seem so cute together, and she just wants to be a writer. She's a huge reader, and he's like an artist major. So freaking cool. I just think that they're both such cool characters, and they're like so well developed, and I've already been through so much with them, and it's only been like 150-ish pages, and I'm really interested to see where this goes and if there will be anything else in the plot. I don't know. There really hasn't been anything crazy that's happened yet. I've already said though, she writes very character-based books, so that doesn't really surprise me for her. But I don't know. This might end up being my favorite out of the Maple Hills series, just because of the way that these characters think and treat each other. I've also realized that Hannah Grace just always adds communication in books. You know how I was talking about Hallie and Jack earlier in The Love Wager, and saying that I was loving the beginning and they were really great couple together, whatever, and then like the last third I was like why did that happen? Not even just the third act breakup has been ruining books for me. That's been happening a lot, and I know I've already said that in this video, but I just really hope that doesn't happen with this book, and I don't think it's going to, because they've already communicated through other issues, and it just makes the characters feel real, and like it's like a real conversation. They're actually doing things because they want to be together and they like each other, and like the way that they think is just so precious, and I'm just really enjoying it. I love how she adds communication, because that's how real couples work. But they do still have disagreements or little spats or tiffs or whatever. Like they haven't like argued or like yelled at each other or anything crazy like that, because they haven't known each other for that long, you know. But like real couples aren't perfect, you know, and I feel like she takes that into account, and she makes them communicate, and she makes them get through conflict, and that's what a relationship is all about. And I don't know, I'm just really enjoying this so far, and I'm really excited to keep reading it. Like I could just sit here and binge this all night if I really wanted to, if I didn't have stuff going on tomorrow, because that's how much I'm enjoying it. And I have not felt like a bingeable quality or just like wanting to pick up the book 100% of my time in a while. So I don't know, we might have a 5-star in our hands. I have a 5-star, and I'm very excited. Okay, I have 8 hours and 30 minutes on the timer, so I just wanted to give you guys an update because it actually is book club day. So we are going to be finishing Ruthless Vows in this video, which I'm very excited about. But I didn't get the chance to read as much in the past few days as I wanted to. I literally gaslight myself into thinking that I'm like a speedy reader. No, you're not, Katie. You're not a speedy reader. And especially with everything that I have going on. Why'd you think you were going to finish this video in 4 days originally? No, babes. No, babes. You're not gonna do that. Okay, anyways, let's go inside. We're gonna get breakfast, and then we're gonna finish Ruthless Vows, and maybe we'll pick out a new book or something. Still enjoying Daydreaming a lot. I might go home and read that a lot later. Then hopefully we can finish it tomorrow. I'm just gonna be realistic. It's 8 hours and 30 minutes. No shot we're finishing today. But hopefully we can finish tomorrow. Okay, we officially have 5 hours and 20 minutes left on the timer, and yesterday I did finish Ruthless Vows with my book club. Again, I don't know why I was gaslighting myself into thinking that we weren't gonna get to finish this in this video, because I just had such a busy week last week and just such a busy weekend in general. There's just been so many people in town that I don't normally get to see and stuff like that, so I've been really trying to take my time and spend time with those people and not like just force myself to read. But I'm still really happy with all the books that I'm reading and how much time I've been able to put aside for reading even while people are here. Normally I feel like I don't, sorry, there's like a knot in my hair. Normally I feel like a lot of the time I'm like, okay, I can either be social or I can work. But I'm doing a lot better at my work-life balance, so I'm proud of myself. My book club has been reading this for quite some time. I read about half of it in this video, as you guys saw, and I'll be completely honest, I really am conflicted with this book since the first one was so romantic, and they are romantic books, and we didn't really know a lot about the war with the gods going on, because that's kind of like the whole plot of this book basically, and then the romance is kind of like a huge plot of it as well. But I feel like the romance was like the main plot of the first one, and it was just so beautiful and so tragic, and I just loved that one so much. And then this one, the main plot is the war with the gods, and then the romance is like a subplot, and the way that she tells the story just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, I guess. I don't know if it's just because I've read a lot of different fantasy series and a lot of different fantasy books, and I honestly haven't read a lot of duologies, or I haven't finished a lot of duologies at least. So maybe this is just a thing with duologies, like the way they wrap things up and stuff like that. But the writing in this one I feel like was not as good. I don't know if, again, like a lot of other popular books that are coming out recently, they were rushing to print or what. But personally for me, it felt like every time we had a struggle in the plot, there was just something magically that came up to fix the problem, or anytime we specifically needed an answer, it just magically appeared and we got the answer. Like there wasn't really a lot of like going back to think about what we learned earlier in the book, or like plot setup or anything like that, because it was just like shown to us. And I feel like it just focused a lot more on like the gods and stuff like that than it did on our two main characters, Roman and Iris. I think it did obviously focus on them because we are getting their perspectives in this book, but I don't know. I think I was just expecting a little bit more. Also felt like a lot of the characters at times did things that were so out of character just so that the plot could move along how the plot was supposed to move along, and it just did not make any sense, especially considering how the characters act in the last book. And again, it just kind of felt like there were a lot of like plot devices, I guess that's the right word for it, things in the plot that would come in just to be like, oh, you need a solution to the problem? Here you go, I got it. And it kind of just made everything like too easy almost, and less high stakes, and just kind of like made everything happen like you did. I don't really know how else to explain it. Like I felt like I wasn't really crazy shocked by anything that happened in this book, because the plot was just kind of like all over the place a little bit. It wasn't repetitive or anything like that. Like there still was a lot going on, but it was almost like too much going on, especially like by the end where they were just like, oh, hey, by the way, here are all of these things that you need to like win this war or whatever. You got it. Like just randomly, like we didn't figure out about them in the first book or later in this book. Like I just feel like the setup wasn't done very well in my personal opinion, but I did really enjoy the first one. So I don't know, I just am a little bit disappointed in this one and kind of like how things wrapped up. I don't really know. It's so hard sometimes for me to think about my specific thoughts on books. And I feel like I've said this before, but especially whenever I have very conflicting feelings, just because, you know, there were some things that I enjoyed about this book, and I really love Iris and Roman's love story, but the basic plot structure and stuff like that just didn't really work for me or make a lot of sense to me. And I just feel like there were a lot of other ways that it could have been done. But again, alas, I am no author. The fact that she wrote 2 books, period, is honestly awesome and crazy. And this is just my opinion. So if you super love this book, I'm so happy for you. I also did read a little bit more of Daydream last night after I finished Ruthless Vows. I think that I'm about halfway through now. There's about like 420 pages. This epilogue is so long. Lately, I have not been loving epilogues, to be completely honest, but I will probably read this one. I know at first I was saying I was really enjoying it, and I think like the first half was so good, and I think that it's still really good. I think I just need to get back into it because I did like take a break from this book to read this book. So I don't really have a lot of thoughts on this thus far, but I am excited to see where it goes at this point. And for some reason with her other 2 books, I felt like they were like a little too long. So I'm really hoping that I don't get that feeling with this book, because I really am enjoying it. I guess we'll just have to wait and see whenever I finish it. I am going to try and finish today, even though I have 5 hours and 20 minutes left. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, because I do have a lot of stuff to get done today, but we are going to try and hopefully finish the challenge today. Hopefully finish this book today, and then maybe start another one or something. I don't really know, but I really want to be done with this challenge today, and I feel like I can do it. I feel like I can do 5 hours. Okay, I've literally been reading almost all day besides doing a little bit of computer work and reading on my treadmill, and I officially have 1 hour and 11 minutes left. We're definitely going to be able to finish Daydream in that time. I'm on page 379, and I think, like I've already said, there's like 420-ish, maybe 30-ish pages. Yeah, with the epilogue anyway. So we're definitely going to be able to finish this. As of how I'm feeling, I am enjoying it a little bit less than I was at the beginning for some odd reason, but I'm still really liking it. I think it's just really hard for me sometimes in books whenever couples are together, even though I really do like these characters and I really do care about them and I find their storylines very interesting and what they're interested in very interesting and how they think. I really enjoy that all about them, but whenever they're already together, it kind of just like makes me a little bit less interested, if that makes any sense. But I'm still really enjoying it, so it doesn't have the theme of like the last few books I've read where the ending just kind of goes downhill. It's just kind of a still enjoying it, but I wish that we had like more plot going on, I guess. And I feel like these characters are just very fleshed out, and Hannah Grace really knew who they were whenever she was writing them, which was really, really cool. And I don't know, the way they talk to each other and communicate and everything like that is just so refreshing. Like, I wish characters talk to each other all the time like this in a romance book. And then I did show you guys a clip of the audiobook that I briefly started. I'm only 12% in. It's called Dungeons and Drama by Christy Boyce. I was a theater kid in high school, so once I saw this and read the synopsis, I was like instantly sold. I was like, I should definitely read this or listen to this because I just thought it would be kind of fun. And it is YA. They are in high school, and it's basically about this girl. Can't remember her name yet. I'm only 12% through, but she got like grounded, and her consequences, she has to work at her dad's like game shop where they sell like a ton of different board games and stuff like that, like Dungeons and Dragons and all of those popular ones. And I'm really interested because there's already like a huge thing in the plot that kind of happened, so I'm really excited to read this. I basically started this and listened to it a little bit today just because I knew that with the time that we had, I was gonna have way too much time on my hands after I finished Daydream. So I just listened to this a little bit while I was getting ready today, and we still have an hour and 10 minutes left. So I don't know how much more I'm going to end up reading of that, but I am very, very excited to finish Daydream. I'm really proud of myself too, because I feel like I'm actually in the position where I can finish it today because it's currently 6 o'clock and I normally read a lot for bed. So I'm gonna go hang out with my friend Brooke that is in town currently. Love you, Brooke. If you're watching this, hey. We're gonna go hang out, do some fun stuff, and then we might read together, and if not, I'm just going to finish this before bed for my before bed reading time. So I guess you guys will see me then. Okay, I finished the 24-hour timer. It's actually a few days later because I wanted to think on my ratings and just let them fester and sit a little bit so I knew for sure how I was feeling about all the books. But I feel like I'm actually ready to chat with you guys. So let's go ahead and do my reading wrap up for this video. We're gonna go ahead and start out with the Matthew Perry memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you will know I don't normally rate memoirs just because it kind of feels weird to rate somebody's very personal real life experiences, and it just kind of feels uncomfortable for me. So I'm not gonna rate this one, but I will say, especially if you're a Friends fan or a Matthew Perry fan, I think you would find this interesting. It talks a lot about his struggle with addiction, and I think anything with somebody that I watched on my TV screen, I'm gonna find interesting. So I did enjoy it. We also finished The Love Wager by Lynn Painter in this. This was just something fun that I've been kind of saving whenever I was wanting something just fun and cute. But I will say the beginning of this book had me very surprised. I was enjoying it a lot more than I thought I was going to, especially because I haven't been crazy impressed with Lynn Painter's new adult work. I more so enjoy her YA stuff, but I will will say that this book had me at first, and then it just kind of went downhill from there. This isn't really my favorite Lynn Painter book. I think I'm gonna rate this like a 3.5, 3.75 maybe. I'm just a little disappointed because, again, like I said, enjoying it so much, and then there were just some choices made by the characters that felt really out of character and didn't really make sense to me. And then I finished Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. Now, I only read half of this in this video, and this book has me so conflicted because I love Roman and Iris and their story, but this book didn't really talk a lot about them. It talks a lot more about the war, and it just kind of felt like there was a lot of like weird info dumping, and the pacing was also really, really weird in this book. And there were also things that characters did that were just so out of character and didn't really make any sense for them. And a lot of the plot was just kind of unknown until you randomly came across it, and then instantly there was a solution to the problem that they had. And just, again, like the pacing and stuff like that was just really, really weird in this book, and I was a little bit disappointed because Divine Rivals was really, really good, and I really enjoyed it personally. And I just feel like the way that this book was written was not my favorite. I think the story was interesting and where she was trying to go with it was interesting, but it just didn't really have me. I think I'm gonna rate this like a 3 or 3.25. I'm thinking more of a 3 because like I would still recommend this because I love Divine Rivals, and obviously it's the conclusion to the duology. And at the end of the day, like I did enjoy some parts of it, but I just wasn't obsessed with it. And like the more I read on and on and on, it just kind of like made me a little bit more and more disappointed. Okay, and then I read Daydream by Hannah Grace, which I enjoyed a lot more than I thought I was going to. I know I originally rated Icebreaker a 4.75. Now, obviously I'm not going to be able to go back to my brain and how many books I had read and like my reading experiences during the time that I actually read it. But now thinking back, I don't think that was a 4.75 because I feel so much more for Hallie and Henry than I think I did for Nate and Stassi, especially their like character development in this one and stuff like that. It was so good, and everything about the way they thought, like I just truly never related to characters like this. I'm in between like a 4.5 and 4.75 for this one. I really, really enjoyed it. I talked a lot more about this one at the end, so I'm not going to share a ton of thoughts on it because you guys just heard them, but I really did enjoy this one. I think if you pick up any of Hannah Grace's books, I would recommend this one. I will just say sometimes her books are so character based that once we get towards the end, it just feels like a little bit long, and I honestly wish she had a little bit more plot because I think that the way she writes and the characters that she writes, if she just added more plot to her books, like these could be 5-star reads for me, but sometimes I just get a little bit bored. Just a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with a character-based book. Obviously, I think it's just because of my attention span. I need something more plot-based. But this is definitely my favorite in the series thus far. I really, really enjoyed this one, and I'm really excited for you guys to read it. And then I also started Dungeons and Dramas, which I'm not going to finish in this video, obviously, because the timer's already ran out. But you guys will hear more about that in my monthly wrap-up at the end of August. So that's really it for this video. If you guys have any thoughts on any of the books that I read in this video, go ahead and leave them in the comments down below. We can chat about it down there. And if you watched until this far in the video, go ahead and comment down below the cloud emoji so I know who the real ones are who watched the very end. If you want to keep up with me on the daily, go ahead and follow my Instagram, my TikTok, and my Goodreads. Goodreads especially if you want to keep up with what I'm reading in real time. Those will always be linked down below in all of my videos. And yeah, I think that's it. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful, amazing day. I love you guys so much. Hope you guys enjoy 24-hour readathons. And yeah, I guess I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys. Enjoying the 2 books that were... Okay, my flashlight's just on. Love that for me, I guess. Okay, this is not my brightest idea. This is also not my brightest idea. Okay, we'll update when we get there. To quite a bit of, oh my gosh. Okay, my tripod's been shrinking this entire time.